So you finally decided to take the road trip that you put off last year because of COVID. Good for you. You packed, trips mapped out with a full tank of gasoline or diesel. But wait a minute. Will you be able to buy the gasoline you need during the journey and back? It's been over 40 years since that's even been a thing, although it's not for the reasons that you might suspect. Wait a minute while we explain. And it boils down to this. 20% of fuel tanker trucks are sitting idle. You know why? For lack of a driver. I'm going to let that settle for a minute. The challenge with a hazardous cargo is having your commercial driver's license or CDL is not enough. You need additional certifications depending on the specialty that you're going to haul. And in this case, with fuel, requires certain specific specifications. So not all drivers can do that. And a bunch of things came together to mess this over. One, the pandemic. A lot of older drivers decided that, you know what? Being at risk just wasn't worth it, and they decided to retire. Two, the truck driving schools weren't open. Why? Because of the pandemic. So new drivers coming into the industry didn't get there. Three, a new database, federal database for drugs and alcohol that screened all drivers took out 60,000 truck drivers who had problems that came up on the registry that removed them from the road. Add all that together, and you've got a crisis. Now, this ain't OPEC. This is not because there's a lack of gasoline, let's be clear, or a lack of refining capacity. This is because we don't have drivers to get it from the refinery or the haul point to the fuel stations. And it's not everybody, and it's not all the time. Obviously, in places that are vacation destinations like, Disneyland or Florida, Orlando, places in California, you may have spot shortages. But what does that mean? It means that typically sometimes you may have a situation where a particular brand or, a particular station, franchise may be out of fuel at that location. It does not mean that everybody in that town is out of fuel. It may mean that you may go around. Now, this is where these gas apps, these gasoline apps come in real handy. And there's a number of them. Not only will they tell you where the stations are, but I'm very sure they'll tell you, hours of operation, whether they have fuel, all of that. If you're looking at traveling, it would be worth it for you to do that. Now, let me say this the best way I know how. Let's not hoard gasoline the way we hoarded toilet paper last year.
Good luck.
People, it makes no sense.
Good luck.
It makes no sense. We do not have a shortage of gasoline. We have a shortage caused by the inability to get it trucked to all the stations that use it, to all the points that use it. It does not mean that you're going to necessarily run out of gas, but you need to be aware and willing to maybe look around from point to point. Again, why these gas apps make sense. And in some upscale cars, they already have that information where you don't even have to download an app. And I'm thinking Lexus offhand has that. I'm pretty sure Mercedes, BMW, and a lot of your luxury features already have that built into the infotainment systems.
It sounds like, the job with all the other things they factored in that, the conditions working the job also really aren't that great. 50% driver turnover can run 50% annually. It hit 70% during the depths of the COVID crisis. So
think about this.
How do we not make this job? Simple to say pay more, but how do we not make this job a little more enticing? And I know it takes time. You got to train them, and it's very special kind of training with that load they have.
Well, this is a subset of a subset. Mm-hmm. Because you're looking at, first of all, over the load, where you're looking at truckers of all kinds, about 6.6 million. What we call over-the-road truckers, the long-distance truckers, are 300 to 500,000 of that amount. These folks are a subset of that because they are specialty or hazardous material truckers. And I don't have a number on how many there are of those. But, just because you have a CDL doesn't mean you can hop behind the wheel and start driving a fuel truck. You have to be qualified for it, and it takes extra training, extra certification, and extra time. But if you apply all these macro situations against the industry as a whole, yeah, it's going to impact that. The problem is time. And the problem is there's just certain aspects of the industry you're not going to change. For the 300 to 500,000 that are over the road long distance, the cure for that is automation. And that's happening. And we've reported on it. Those jobs will probably be the first ones that will be subject to autonomous trucks. Only because being away from your family that long, driving in all kinds of conditions over long distances and limited amounts of time wears you down and affects your health and drives folks. Because, I mean, it's a lonely job and it's full of peril. And there's just no nice way of making that.
You get a bunch of gas, haul a bunch of gasoline. That could be dangerous too.
Not could be, is.
Yeah.
And the last thing you need is a tired trucker behind the wheel on day 5 who's kind of bent the rules of his hours of service because he's got to get this load to a certain place. Mm-hmm. Yeah, not a good combination. That never ends well. So all I'm saying is plan ahead, use common sense, be open, and don't wait until you're below a quarter of a tank to start looking for gasoline.
Yeah, but that said, don't wait till the low light comes on.
No.
That said, don't fill up constantly either.
Right. Real quick story. A couple of years ago, we were going from here to South Carolina. My middle child was graduating boot camp for the National Guard. Brilliant here got outside of Champaign, Normal, Illinois, thinking he was close to a gas station. I am glad that my wife's Nissan is extremely accurate in estimating fuel. Extremely accurate. I was below 10 miles on that thing when I found the gas station I was looking for in the middle of the night.
Man.
Do not do that.
The middle of the night, too.
Come on. Yeah. Just in southern Illinois. Leroy, Illinois will forever be etched in my mind. Ever. It was a sight for sore eyes.
So you never know with 24-hour places. That's when you got to be.
But they were open, thank God. They had the gas, thank God, and we gassed up. And I'll never do that again.
That's funny.
It was scary because it would have ended really wrong if I had miscalculated or this thing wasn't nearly as accurate. It's a heck of a way to find out that a vehicle is that accurate.
Miss Chester would not have been very happy.
No, she wasn't. Trust me. Not a good way to start a trip. And we were about 6 hours in. So, yeah, again, I can't say enough. Go for the apps. It'll help you.